I think I've calmed down. I think I'm all right now. All right,
Oh, I missed it.
let's get started, guys. Come on, this is a great time. This is another Christmas all over again. So thanks for tuning in, folks. This is a not a Christmas special, but a spring Christmas special where we get gifts and we don't know what to do with them. So we're like, all right, which one do we open first? We have to vote on them. So okay, we're gonna do a Wit and Folly video, and it's just happiness. It's just she makes happiness. She spreads it around, and it's happiness to you. It's mostly pain to us, but I think we've gone past the threshold, much like a hero's journey. We've gone into the world of being, and now we've come out the other end, and now we're no longer crazy. We've become satiated with pianos and pretty lights and nice fonts, and we speak very calmly, and everything makes sense. I think. I hope.
Makes sense in her brain. I use the word brain very loosely.
Oh, she's intelligent. I just don't know in which direction. I just don't know.
She's got a high vocabulary, and she at least like semi knows or knows her field of study. It's just that her field of study is weird.
It's like everything Joseph Campbell. Anything tangentially related to Campbell, she probably knows, and that's what she talks about. So her channel is essentially the Joseph Campbell show and derivatives thereof, and trying to interpret everything through the lens of a monomyth, which is interesting by itself. It's just the monomyths tend to take on the shape of women monomyths. I don't know what those are. And then there's American monomyths and all sorts of sexual imagery I don't get, but that's why we listen. We listen in awe, and we just sort of sit back and just take it in with all the piano music and whatever other tunes she's got playing. So yay, Wit and Folly, guys. We got Glib here. I don't know what he's up to, but hey, Glib.
Hey, how you doing?
Everything's
Good
cool over
work
here.
with you,
And Dunn's with me. I
buddy.
don't know if we're getting anyone else, but I hope that Literature Devil pops in. I'm sure he has something to say. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be 12 minutes. 12 minutes of great times and sexual imagery and water and piano and who knows what. Let's get going.
Metaphorical wombs.
Metaphorical wombs.
Hmm.
So, for a while, I struggled with whether or not to make this video.
All we can do is lean towards the good.
This notion of identity behind the
Joseph
surface
Campbell trap
display of
music.
duality. Identity behind it all. All of these are manifestations of the one.
The church was threatened by this because how can you have a church if everyone's libido is her own God?
Why not? Why can't the church handle that? If you can sanctify a marriage that has been arranged, why can't you sanctify a marriage where two people have joined each other?
I have a personal affinity for Joseph Campbell. Anyone who follows me on Twitter or has watched my videos or has conversed with me about Star Wars in any way knows this. I found Campbell's works at a time in my life when I was looking for something that wasn't film criticism. I wanted to understand story and understand why certain things resonated with me and others didn't.
This is all fair. I mean, you could use Joseph Campbell to explain story structure, I guess. It's not the definitive. It's a good one, though, because we all understand the hero's journey in some capacity. It's not the be-all, but it's a big part of storytelling. So I was like, yep, okay, with you so far. Not sure about the references to the church and libido, but this is Wit and Folly, guys.
It's weird.
And I was tired of all the argumentative criticism, which so obviously disregarded women and minority viewership. And
We
Okay.
hate women, guys. You have to understand. We hate women, especially if they're female and minorities. If they're female minorities, we have this hate boner for all of them. Yes, we're attracted to them because they're women, but we still hate them as much as humanly possible. So
That's and it's unconscious even if we disagree, of course.
right. So we're exhibiting this male desire to seek out women, but we're actually hating ourselves because we hate them. So we're internally juxtaposing ourselves into these women. hopefully in a sexual manner, but that's not how it works with the heroes.
Okay, I'm just hung up on the thing of like hating women and minorities. It's like, no, we're actually pro minorities and females. We're asking for better movies for them to be in.
Yes.
I don't agree with any of the layout of this idea system. So it's like arguing against a singular point. I don't even know how to begin.
Because apparently using your brain means you're against minorities and women, guys. That's how it goes. You use your brain.
Sorry to interrupt, but wasn't one of the most prolific Nazi filmmakers a woman?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Pretty sure that Leni Riefenstahl, who made Nazi propaganda that was pretty much well respected at the time, was a woman. So this whole thing about, you know, everybody's racist, everybody's sexist, it's so tiresome. It's just so exhausting.
I know.
That's the whole point, is that it's supposed to be a war of attrition where you're constantly defending yourself. Like, oh no, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist. And then eventually they want you to go, okay, fine, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you're not. But you just want the beatings or whatever to stop. It's like, so at this point you just say no, and then what else you got? You move on.
It's strange. Even if this morning I was defending Rebel News. It's a Canadian conservative news organization, and they always get kicked out when trying to interview Trudeau or any of the House. And it's like they have a press pass. They are a member of the press. They have the right to be wherever everyone else is. And you have all these people on Twitter and social media saying, "Oh, screw these guys. They're a bunch of white supremacists, you know, some nationalist bullshit." It's like, no, they're just a bunch of people who hold a certain viewpoint, and they've said nothing negative. Maybe some of the individuals they've had that they've kicked off might have, but they have every right to be there. So people, you know, downplaying freedom of the press or freedom of speech is like, you do realize what you're saying. It's like, I
don't think they do.
No, they don't. They just hate what they don't like, and that's that. They don't care what rights they disagree with or this second part of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada. It's like, yeah, no, we don't want you here. It's like, listen, it's social media. You can just block them. It's that simple. Anyway,
yeah.
Wit and Volley.
Opinion. So of course when I saw The Last Jedi, I thought, so this is mythical. And I immediately dug into Campbell trying to figure out what that meant.
Okay. Is Last Jedi use the monomyth? And you have to think in terms of the hero's journey, meaning Rey or maybe Kylo or one of the characters is going somewhere, goes through the threshold, you know, goes through apotheosis, all these changes. I really haven't been able to figure that out. Is it mythical? I'm sure it's mythical in some capacity. Does it make any goddamn sense in relation to Joseph Campbell's monomyth? Absolutely not. I can't make it out.
Hello there.
Hello there. How's it going, Shiny?
It's going all right. I've finally managed to hop in.
Well, we're just at the point where she says she just watched The Last Jedi. It's like, great. It's gonna have some references.
So okay, so this has to do with The Last Jedi. What does? There's definitely strange titles of videos that seem to have very little to do with the actual
topic.
Like, so it says, "Oh, let's talk about Joseph Campbell," and it somehow manages to go into The Last Jedi.
Yes, this is like a, I don't know what you would call a transition video. She wants to make another video, but she has other stuff to say, so she has to get this off her chest. So this is her idea of that sort of video. And she makes titles that she changes. So this title could be changed to something totally different tomorrow. We have no idea. Oh, super chat from Steven. Thank you, Steven Alvarez. Off topic since I recently spotted it. Did you guys watch the YouTube vid Comedy Ages Poorly from Renegade Cut? Half of it is good and half is terrible. I was about to be given about 12 videos from a fan telling me to watch 12 Renegade Cuts videos. And I was like, dude, that's way too much. Just give me one. So he gave me one, and it's not that one. But we can literally just go through his entire channel and hurt ourselves. So No, we haven't seen Comedy Ages Pearly, but we might eventually get there. Again, if you want to make a recommendation, come to the Discord, go to the suggestions channel, and drop it in, and then we'll all vote on it, and we'll see if it's worth our time. But thanks for the suggestion either way. Let's continue.
I read plenty of critical pieces on his works as well. Not surprising, since he was a white man born on the west coast of the U.S. in 1904.
Yes, thank you. He's a white man, born on the West Coast. Yada yada.
Expecting anything revolutionary from his work.
Wait, what? Okay, let's say that again. I want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly.
1904. I wasn't expecting anything revolutionary from his work, and honestly, it sort of grew on.
Let's just rewind that.
I thought,
Okay.
so this is mythical, and I immediately dug into Campbell trying to figure out what that meant. I read plenty of critical pieces on his works as well. Not surprising, since he was a white man born on the east coast of the U.S. in 1904. I wasn't expecting anything revolutionary from.
So, 1904, he was born. White man.
So, what?
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. So there's a lot to unpack. So if you want to understand myth, look at actual myths, not the dude who studied myths and created a kind of an essential timeline structure for all of the myths. You actually come to your own conclusions regarding the myth. You might use Campbell to kind of create some kind of like through line, perhaps, but I think it would be better for you to actually study the myths and come to your own.
With Campbell is sort of like a 3x structure analysis, and he just read more books. And he says, oh, in this book, this happens in the intro. In this book, this happens in the intro. And he started seeing patterns. And he started calling them archetypes. And then he looked at Jung. And he looked at patterns in religion. And he just started combining all these things. So it's kind of like a smorgasbord of ideas that just happens to coincide with all these cultural myths that people have been hearing. And he will say, he'll argue that these are, all stories are like this. They're not all like this, but for the most part, he's accurate. Just not as a puzzle would be accurate, just as a component, like a flavor of a picture would be in another picture, like the sea would be a common picture or a common element in a photo throughout the ages. So, it's a pattern, that's all. And he's a white man from the West Coast.
But I don't understand, why does it matter that he's a white man from the West Coast? I don't see what that has to do with anything. Surely his merits come from what he's talking about and not his skin color or gender.
This is a good question.
All the time he was born in.
I wish I could answer that for you.
I would agree. What really matters is just this is not your gender or race.
But again, we're racist, sexist, cis white dudes, so we don't know what we're talking about.
Of course.
His work.
Of course.
And honestly, it sort of grew on me as I became more familiar with his lectures. Also not surprising, most discourse on Campbell happens in white male circles. Women
people have discussions, and these people have. Why does it matter? Why does their race and gender matter?
Look, we're all white people as far as I can tell. White people care about, I don't know, hero stories. Awesome. Thank you for identifying everything through race. That's very helpful.
Oh, great. People like at least it's aimed more towards men like the hero's journey. So what? I don't.
What's the point?
What matters is not the race or gender of the person which is saying these things. It's what they're actually saying.
If it does, explain why it does.
It's like he's been perpetuated in circles of white men. why does that matter? Maybe she'll explain why that matter, and maybe she'll tell us why it's whatever reason she's bringing it up. But it seems very strange.
Well, the common joke in reading philosophy or any books where people have been dead for thousands of years, it's old white dead men who've written these books. And that's kind of the ongoing thing. It's like, yeah, but it's not racist or sexist. It just happens to be the case. And it's like, yeah, Aristotle, old white dead guy. Plato, probably another old white dead guy. It's like, who cares? It's just a joke. But then these people, whenever they decided to appropriate this concept, say, oh, just another old white dead guy writing books, being read by a bunch of other white guys.
The thing is, historically, countries like England, where if you go into the really old, really old storytelling, countries like England have been writing these stories for ages, and of course, these classic stories are going to be kept within the country and within the culture. And because these stories are so good, they last throughout time. Macbeth and Sherlock Holmes are just a few examples of books which have been written that have just continued on. And I guess these are relics from times which weren't as diverse for whatever reason in the specific time period you want to talk about. But that doesn't really matter that much. It's not like there were people in that time who were of color and they wrote a book and people just didn't read it because it was someone who was it was just the fact that they weren't writing it. I'm just using for example.
I know, but don't you just hate the whole dialectic that's going on here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, you have to use these days you have to use your terms very specifically.
Oh,
but
yeah, of course. I mean, I'm not, ribbing you. I'm just saying that,
Mm-hmm.
I find it exhausting. Like I was saying earlier, my point about how somehow we have to defend. We feel that it feels like an attack. Like, oh, look at all this white group of people, and it's not blah blah blah. And what is it? What is the point you want to get across here? I want to find out what she has to say, because it's like, what is the point behind bringing up the idea of someone's race or sex being relevant to stories?
It's really kind of surprising that we're the ones that are supposed to be racist, sexist, when people like this, so if we straight up and said, oh well, these stories are just perpetuated within circles of women, and because she's a woman born in this time period, well, obviously I wouldn't expect a lot from her to say. I wouldn't expect anything from her. What? It's we would be on blast if we straight up said that. We would be the worst people of hell. I think the audience would even turn on us, because that would just be explicitly, what the fuck.
I mean, whatever.
But
regardless of whether or not it's valid, it's like, what exactly is it that we're trying to get to here? My brain turns off. What is it that what good could possibly come out of this discussion about centering storytelling on race? If you're reading Campbell, you understand that the hero is in every culture, the hero with 1,000 faces. Oh no, so why is one skin color of that face distinguish itself? What race was Gilgamesh?
Yeah, the ancient Sumerian poets.
I think honestly the problem seems to be just that Campbell himself is male, and she wants more women in this field of study.
I'm not sure, because she seems to be aiming more towards the idea that because of his race and gender, she didn't believe that he had anything to put forward. But then that is quite surprising from people who are supposedly for equality, saying that, oh, because of his race and gender, I didn't initially treat him seriously, or believe he had anything worth of input.
Well, your mileage does vary when you read Here with 1,000 Faces. It's tough to get into. So I don't mind having a channel dedicated to interpreting it and figuring it out. That's great. I think that's a good thing to talk about. It's very applicable to modern cinema or books or what have you. Cool. It's just that her viewpoint is so skewed and sometimes warped that it's almost laughable. And we certainly saw that when she was trying to interpret the sexual view of The Last Jedi. You just sit there, you're You're in awe of what she's saying. It's so good.
I wasn't in awe at all. I was wishing that we had gun laws. We didn't have any gun laws, so I could just blow my fucking brains out. I'm technically a clone, so I don't know if I just have a blaster around here and just put it against my head and pull the trigger.
Will admit, I was like, mostly just. I watched this first time. I was surprised by multiple like things that happened. Second, I was like, this is just fine. And then I watched Mahler. Just full stop. No, this is bad. This is a bad movie. This is a stupid, stupid movie.
I've hated it from the start. I hated it way before it was cool to hate the film, like, and the Force Awakens as well.
Yeah. Partially, I was listening to way too much of guys like Just Right and School of Movies.
I still want to do. I haven't had the time, but I'd love to watch his original Last Jedi movie. How much he loves it, and then I want to watch his analysis of The Rise of Skywalker and just pick apart the discrepancies. I'm sure there are some very common elements in both those films that we both know are horrible, and I'm sure he's going to say something positive about The Last Jedi, which he doesn't in The Rise of Skywalker. I just haven't had time to do so, but I'm sure it's there.
Just Right?
Well, I know Patrick did it, so I did a short clip on that, but I'm sure that Just Right does it too. If you can praise...
Yeah, Just Right did a video.
Yeah, if you can...
Yeah, he did a 24-minute video on Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, if you can praise The Last Jedi and you can hate The Rise of Skywalker, there's so much overlap with the problems of those two movies. Obviously, it's a bigger mess in one of them, but you just have to pay attention. Like, dude, this is exactly the same scene as that scene, and you're praising the other one.
The thing is, it's because I think the Rise of Skywalker spits in the face of The Last Jedi at so many places that the people who like The Last Jedi don't like the fact that it spits in their face.
That could be part of it.
Which is kind of ironic if you think about it.
Just Right seems to hate. It mostly seems to be fanboys, and like just kind of going for nostalgia baiting over everything else, which I would kind of agree that is what Rise of Skywalker is doing. But the problem is it's just a MacGuffin fetch quest that goes nowhere and has no impact on the film for the first.
Even then, the film is like inflated artificially so much. Like they create a quite literal artificial barrier of blockage that the story just pulls out of his ass, so it can have some kind of way to prolong the story other than just going to the planet. It's not like any actual thought. And even then, it's like, oh well, they can't get they can't go through the wall without getting the wayfinder. They can't get the wayfinder until they get the knife. Oh look, the knife has been stolen. Oh look, they have the knife again. Oh look, they have to go to this place to try and find someone who can hack into C-3PO.
All to find a second wayfinder that gets destroyed. So all this
also
build up to go to nothing.
Artificial. Mm-hmm.
It's great. I love it. Because I'm a cis white man.
And then things like happen for no reason, like Rey just up and leaving. And it's like, oh look, I'm just going to up and leave. It's like, why? It's like, oh Luke, you were right. And it's like, Luke's like, I'm wrong.
You mean the last movie was a waste of time? Yes.
It didn't need to happen.
Alrighty.
Men aren't usually talking about him unless you're Rory or Paris, that is.
What? Why does that matter if they're talking about him or not? I honestly want to know. Why is that important? Why does it? If I guess keep watching.
So these are two women.
Groups avoid him entirely, or when they do speak of him, they disregard his work in favor of less reductionist approaches to myth, psychology, anthropology, philosophy. Or wait, maybe I should clarify what Campbell's work actually was, because it certainly was not all of these things. And in criticizing his work, I think this is the trap that a lot of people fall into. Campbell was a literature professor, a perpetual student of story. He was most interested in finding similarities between all types of folklore from various cultures all over the world. When a lot of people first come across his work, they may read The Hero with a Thousand Faces.
There was a lot of women in the audience there, just so you know that who's studying this at the time. All those white men.
That's this is from mid 90s or early 1900s or something like
This
that.
has got to be around black and white, so you're thinking 40s, 50s probably? He was born in
Okay, it's about mid
1904.
1900s. 1904, yeah.
Cultures all over the world. When a lot of people first come across his work, they may read The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Although I'm not really sure why.
Why are they reading his most important book? I don't know.
That's super ironic. Super ironic that you're all racial about it and you don't understand Hero of a Thousand Faces.
It's strange
makes all the
because
sense.
she says that she's almost like fighting against the like she's not fighting against it. She's saying, "Oh, people that listen to him because he's a white male, but you should." Like, I really think people should listen to him because his work's good. It's like my more confusing part is like, okay, but maybe we should dig into why you think people don't listen. All these people within your own circles don't listen to him because he's a white male. And she even admits that she had some kind of prejudice against him because of his race and gender.
It's
I
like
think there's some deeper themes in this video we could dig into.
it's kind of strange. It's like saying, yeah, why would people ever read Carl Jung's The Red Book? You know, his most important, biggest book. It's like, oh, why would they do that? I mean, if you actually studied him, you would never do that. It's like, dude, are you like some sort of weird Campbellian elitist or something? Like, come on, let them read whatever they want to read. Why do you think it's the most popular book? Think about it. People who don't know Campbell know that book. It's just a strange thing to say, oh, they shouldn't be reading that. It's like, yes.
It's just one of those things where it's like making all these statements like you're so close to realizing the context and subject that you're talking about, and then you veer off into racism and sexism because you're programmed to.
Oh, it's elitism as well. Because if you make a statement like that, you know, if I read one book, there's so many books of Aristotle. It's like, oh, he really should have been just reading the Politica. It's like, well, no, that's philosophy. There's several books. He covered a lot of areas. You only study that if that's what you're studying. So you don't need to jump into poetics or the organon or categoria. You don't have to. It's so silly.
It remains his most popular work and the work in which he proposed the now widely templated hero's journey. It's not what he was most known for outside of, well, Star Wars.
Okay, she just said...
What? That's three opposite statements in one. Sorry.
It's just... Go for it, Glib. Go. Yeah.
No. I was just gonna say it's like he's known. His most famous book is Hero with a Thousand Faces. His most famous influence is Star Wars, and his most famous work is on monomyth. That's why we know him. It's not the lesser stuff, but she's gonna explain how it's the lesser stuff. And even this image that's in front of us with Bill Moyers and the whole interview in Star Wars, and all that's just an example of what she's talking about. That is the most important thing because it's the most widely known.
It's like talking about Einstein. Like, he had other theories about light and optics, but we know him for what he's famous for because that's what he's famous for.
Yeah.
What a strange thing to say.
Campbell was an amazing lecturer. He had an amazing ability to weave in a personality and a personal journey when he recounted folk tales or stories he held dear. He encouraged people to read stories outside of their own experiences and perspectives, since it changed his life so significantly. He lived his own philosophy so effortlessly and so happily, it's no wonder people get so easily taken in by it. But funny enough, he didn't tell anyone he had it all figured out. Instead, he said,
Okay, this is one of those times where I had to pause the video and just like, what are you trying to say here, Wit and Folly? No one has anything figured all out, okay? No one, like, that's not how people operate. We don't have perfect knowledge. We don't, have a a formula that explains everything. Even Einstein knew that his equation was not perfect. I guess she's just being glib. I don't know. I really don't know.
She's being glib.
Well, I guess.
I thought that was Glib's job.
No, my job is to be serious and to be genuine.
You should find your own truth for yourself, and what that is will be completely different from my truth.
Must come from you, not from the machine, and not from the government that's teaching you, or not even from the clergy. It has to come from one's own inside. And the minute
A lot of people who are
That was way off.
Oh, wow! I see where she's coming from. Hey, that is a giantly anti-authoritarian statement right there.
Yeah, you have to remember this guy lectures a lot, so that was completely taken out of context, and I guess to justify her own statement. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying. It was, she's what do you call it? When you are creating art, it has to come from you. It doesn't come from pleasing the standard set or whatever necessarily. Where you get the source from. But what this is it's clipped out of context, like you said. What do you think he's referencing before that? You think it's what she said, or do you think it's something separate? You think it has to do with where creativity and storytelling comes from in relation to restricting yourself to a formula? I think so. I think that's what he was trying to get at, where it's like, don't be too obsessed with trying to please the system or, you know, whatever the educational system that's teaching you. Make sure that what you make is personal to yourself. And then what's the goal there? The goal is to achieve something that is like the hero's myth, a legendary story, a myth. It has to be personal. So he's breaking into that nuance thing where if you want something to be timeless and regarded like Gilgamesh, it still has to be personal and come from you as the source. But you still need to pay attention to the formulas. You just don't have to obey everything all the time.
At least like have to be aware with them in order to kind of say, okay, how can I surprise the audience in a way that makes sense based on the parameters and usual storytelling formulas, functions, and archetypes.
Yeah, I mean, if you know, if you copied the formula and format to a 100% degree and didn't put any of yourself into it, then it wouldn't be successful as a story. It's that simple.
I can definitely concur.
It's kind of impossible, though. If you ever read The Hero of a Thousand Faces, it's so much allegory and reference that it's just not. It's not even a template. It's just sort of here's a 3-act structure, and here's all the details in between from all sorts of cultures. It's like you can't write a story that multicultural characters growing and changing and dying, and it's like, whoa, this is too much. It's kind of like a recipe that you're allowed to make your own molds out of and move them around. It's not this perfect structure. So
no, it's like a set of cultural patterns that are all similar to each other. It's a pattern that shows that stories from Japan and stories from the Bible have similarities because humans are similar. It's just he was fascinated with the fact that people's stories and cultures have patterns that liken them to each other, and that their distinctions are what makes them interesting and unique.
Yeah, so it's part of.
That's my favorite. Sorry, I was just gonna say my favorite thing about him was his enthusiasm for inherent diversity and also the idea that all the things are similar.
It's part of our own understanding throughout life. Like we grow and change and we go through all these struggles, and it's like, yeah, we could see that from a childhood's perspective, a young adult's, a middle-aged man, an adolescent. There's all these stages. It's very similar in comparison, so we can relate very easily to the progress a hero or character goes through in a story, and we just seem to associate that with, once we get to the thing we want, we then have this uniquely fictional way of expressing that called the denouement, which sort of ties things together, which you don't get in life, because life is not a story. And you get this neat little bow at the end that ties everything together. So there is a certain degree of romanticism to these stories, and there's a certain degree of relation that we can see throughout our lives.
Campbell won't really admit this, but most of his work actually falls under the self-help section, not psychology or
No, it doesn't.
What?
It doesn't. It really doesn't, guys. I don't know what the hell she's talking about.
Is she maybe going to provide some evidence for her argument here that apparently is like I can understand someone picking up, 12 rules for life, how many rules there are for Jordan Peterson's like self-help book. It's like, yeah, obviously, yeah, that's a self-help book. Sure, that I can see that, but
I put
he's
Mein
more
Kampf in the self-help section. That doesn't make sense.
it's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to take a hero with 1,000 faces and I'm going to put it in self-help. And I'm not sure librarians think that way.
Maybe it's self-help for writers to write better, but not
help
psychology.
Like, not in terms of
that would be that'd be education then.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I hope that's what she means, because if that's what she thinks, then she is reading this story wrong.
She's reading the book upside down.
I don't know what she's doing, honestly.
You're watching movies wrong.
You're reading Campbell wrong. Oh boy.
This shouldn't be possible, but you're watching movies wrong.
I don't want to be that guy, so we'll just keep going.
Or at least we're saying it in jest. We're not actually like being serious. Like what she's saying is fucking nuts.
Maybe it's possible. It's in the self-help section of the bookstore. I've never looked for it, so it's possible.
But
why would it be in the self-help section?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Sorry, I have no idea what that is.
cultural studies. Ugh. In his time, he would...
Cultural studies is an actual category, so I don't know where... there are several genres when you go to school. Cultural studies is one of them, so...
have said he was a student of literature and myth, but what he was contributing on the surface level was simply a retelling of these myths from his own perspective.
Yes, on a surface level. I'm sure many things are on a surface level. It's great.
When you dig deeper into it, you may find questions to ask yourself that may begin...
On a surface
as
level,
studies
someone could consider this video to be deep. It doesn't mean it is. When you
funny.
actually when you dig deeper into argumentation, it can often lead to it being the opposite.
Like, I would honestly compare somebody like if I were to kind of take Ray, I would have to create an argument based on a character that has a lot of power in a different series. Maybe it wouldn't necessarily... I don't know if I could use film, but I think I could use a character like Egwene Elvire, since Egwene Elvire gets really OP towards the end. But the issue with that is that Egwene fails consistently and is beaten, and there are mechanics built into the universe that will allow her to be beaten.
of myth or psychology or culture or philosophy, but may end up as a journey of self-discovery. And that's awesome. There's no reason to discount it because there's...
I don't know what she's talking about. It's hard to follow. We can rewind, but I don't know if it's going to help you, Shiny.
No. Rewind it. I want to see that again because I'm on a journey of self-discovery.
As white men, it's our duty.
As white men, it's our duty to correct a woman.
That's not this. That's not his. It's not. I don't even know the fuck this is. Do any of us know what the fuck this is? But self-help and self-discovery, yes, that is like a great thing. It's important for many people. Like, I have gone through like self-discovery and realizations about myself, and I've come out better for it. But that's got nothing to do with Campbell. It has nothing to do with Campbell. Literally nothing to do with Campbell. Campbell, I don't think, has ever written a self-help book. Sure, he might have a mentality which is good, and that might be healthy for him. But it's not a self-help book.
When you dig deeper into it, you may find questions to ask yourself that may begin as studies of myth or psychology.
Yeah, the question I'm asking myself is why did I vote for this video to cover? That's the question I'm thinking about now.
It's really Literature Devil's fault because we always cover her videos, and he's not here to
Which, yeah, like
suffer.
he made us suffer through this, so why the fuck aren't you here, Literary Devil?
Yeah, I know he's here. He's just not responding.
Yeah, I see you lurking in the darkness, Lit Dev, watching us
culture or
suffer.
philosophy, but may end up as a journey of self-discovery. And that's awesome. There's no reason to discount it because there's no definitive answers in it. In fact, no definitive answers is a part of the perspective.
This is difficult stuff.
Campbell wrote a journal entry in
That's part of the perspective, and just a single quote. This is difficult stuff. What?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It is
Oh, it's
not
like-
very difficult.
I wonder
Well, it depends
if
on-
Campbell would. I wonder if Campbell would
What's-
say it was definitive. I think he would write a book if he considered it definitive, and therefore.
What's the context for what he's saying, though? That's what I would. What was he saying is difficult specifically? Because the lack of context mean he could be saying fucking anything.
I'm still trying to process what she's talking about, guys. I'm a little lost for words here.
I'm starting to give up. This is the second Wit and Folly video we've covered where I'm here, and I'm having a lot of regrets.
It's not as bad as the last one. I can tell you that much. It's just
At least it's not as bad as who killed him and why, and then throughout the entire video, find out who the fuck killed him, why,
who is he?
who died,
Who died?
who's they, what's the aluminum falcon.
going on with this? For some reason, it's skipping ahead and not playing for me. So
Don't worry, I got it.
1932, where he said, "I am filled with an excruciating sense of never having gotten anywhere. But when I sit down and try to discover where it is I want to get, I'm at a loss. The thought of growing into a professor gives me the creeps. A lifetime being spent trying to kid myself and my pupils into believing that the thing we are looking for is in books. I don't know where it is, but I feel just now pretty sure."
Okay, yeah, you may have said this, but I'm honestly very confused about how we got to this point, because that's not, he may have said this, but that's not what his books are about. I'm not going to pretend to know a lot what about the books about, but from what I've heard and from what I understand they're about, it's not this. It's not self-help. Are you thinking of Jordan Peterson here?
No, well, it would basically a lifetime to be spent trying to kid myself and my pupils into believing that the thing we are looking for is in books. Well, what he's talking about is a general thing about existence, like meaning, purpose, satisfaction. That's not monomyth. That's sort of an extrapolation of how real life relates to monomyth and finding meaning in monomyth. There's multiple things going on here that are being confused. On one side, you have monomyth as a method of storytelling and myth, and an explanation for the hero's cycle. And on the other side, you have the search for meaning and philosophy and fulfilling things in your life. Those two things are not the same statements. I don't know why she's conflating them together. It's frustrating. But what's happening here is obviously there's we'll start with the premise, and then when we get to the explanation of the premise, we move to the explanation for a different premise. So this is an explanation for a question that wasn't asked before. We're just kind of tangenting from subject to subject.
Also, the text and the font is bothering me.
It looks like she put an image and then
What it is that she's written out the text. She's used it as a mask for
it's the difference mode in Premiere.
Oh,
blending mode is difference.
It's inverted. It's inverted all the colors. You can see all the colors on his head, and for some reason she thinks that makes the text stand out, but it honestly makes it more confusing to look at. Like if you look at but I feel that you can see pretty clearly, but when it gets onto just now, it starts to become more difficult to read. You may as well just have white fucking text. It's just it's just inverted to the colors of the background. That's the simplest way of putting it, without going into long-winded details about After Effects or Premiere.
Shiny going into design again. But yeah,
Again, I like visuals. I'm a big visual person. Please put effort into visuals. If you want me to take your content seriously, at least put in the visual work. Find a YouTube tutorial. Just at least use a different font. I'm not expecting high budget shit. I'm just expecting you to maybe format your stuff a little better. Something that's better than spending 5 seconds putting in the text and inverting the colors. Hell, just having the quote at the bottom normal. When people quote things, they have like a bar at the bottom and then the quote and then maybe a video. That would be more preferable. That'd be a better format. And honestly, I maybe I want to talk about this because it's anything else other than what the fuck she's talking about right now.
We want things to be clear, essentially, visually or otherwise, and they're not. What are we talking about here? She's just quoting him randomly, I think.
The invert's really annoying me at certain words because it just makes it weird to read.
That it isn't in travel. It isn't in California. It isn't in New York. Where is it? And what is it, after all? This was during the time he was trying to pin down exactly what he wanted to do for his career. And the answers he found were not what he originally sought. What he originally wanted was to study American Indian cultural anthropology. He goes on to say, "A science would buckle me down and would probably yield no more important fruit than literature may yield me. If I want to justify my existence and continue to be obsessed with the notion that I've got to do something for humanity, well, teaching ought to quell that obsession. And if I can ever get around to an intelligent view of matters, intelligent criticism of contemporary values ought to be useful to the world." This gets back again to Krishna's dictum. The best way to help mankind is through the perfection of yourself.
Has this got anything to do with anything right now? We start off in one place, we ended up in other, and some of the things she's saying aren't even particularly wrong. It's just the context that she's putting them in. It's often the best way to help mankind is to help yourself first, because then if everyone's helping themselves and bettering themselves, then it's obviously going to make things a lot better. And I would agree, but how does that got anything to do with Joseph Campbell? You literally just said it wasn't even him that said that. That was just another quote you pulled out of the air. And these videos don't even have to have a simple premise. It just seems like she starts talking about something and it goes into something else, and who knows where the fuck it's going to lead.
Remember, this title is Let's Talk About Joseph Campbell. There's no context as to the structure of that conversation, the ideas, the topics, or how she gets from A to B. It's just her and Joseph Campbell, baby. We're just going wherever she wants to take us.
It's a wild ride.
It's less crazy than the previous rides she gives us. So this is at least grounded in something.
I understand what's happening here. We have I want to figure out, because we haven't really been presented, and maybe we have, I just haven't synthesized it yet. But she said, she seems to have something that she wants to be true, and then is trying to use Joseph Campbell to prove it. This is what Joseph Campbell really meant. It's not what you think. And it's okay. So all of these things are kind of tangents moving towards that objective, even though
Possibly.
The logic might not add up to it. She has this conclusion, and she's working backwards, trying to create a series of tangents that lead to it.
Yeah, she might be getting to a mea culpa that a lot of philosophers tend to do in their late life, where they look at their work and go, "Oh, that was a bunch of shit. That was bull. Why did I write that?" But I never saw that in Campbell. So
let's find out if that's what she's going for.
Yeah,
But yeah, you were saying.
Yeah, there's other philosophers that know exactly what they're talking about, but not
right,
this.
Right, of course. But Campbell, whenever I saw Campbell, the thing that I got from him was that he was always glowing to be talking about this.
Yeah.
Theory almost he had. It was almost just he had this thing in his eye where he was it was like somebody that had that Eureka moment when they were doing acid or something, where they just realized everything was everything or something. That moment of lucidity, the moment of comprehension at something that's so basic and so universal that it's almost impossible to explain it to somebody. They just have to kind of experience it for themselves.
Yeah.
The Eureka moment. That's Campbell was excited to share that. That's probably why he became a professor. Same with probably Peterson, I would say, is that you find something and you just want to spread it. That's the best kind of teacher. Somebody who's just excited about that. And then it's usually on a topic where people coming through the doors of the university or whatever are going to come out with new ideas. You're going to meet new pupils and the experimental sciences division. That's why people want to be there as opposed to being at some sort of company that has a goal. It's people coming in with hope and questions. So it's fun to be able to give somebody an answer sometimes. And that's kind of what Campbell was all about. Here's some answers. They're not the best answers, but here are all the answers that I read. It's the answer from Gilgamesh. It's the answer from the Sumerians. It's the answer from the Phoenicians. Do you want to know the answer? Maybe I want to hear what your question is, which goes to that classic idea of the master and the pupil are on the same level, and the master seeks the pupil, that kind of thing. It's that glorious, inexplicable paradox of the human experience and the repetition of existence that we get to see play out over and over again in stories. And the crazy thing about stories is that you can have one person write something and then tens of thousands to millions of people could relate to it and understand it and read it. And that one perspective multiplies, even though it was only one person's perspective in the first place. And why is that one more valuable to people?
Right.
There's a bunch of magic there.
Why is the monomyth so important? And why does everyone know about it, yet we've never read his other works? Like, because it resonates.
Exactly.
It works.
Or why do people recognize it even if they haven't read that thing? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I think people, again, just know that it's just what he's most well known for. I'm sure people do look at his other works, because I'm sure he has a lot to say. But it's like, yes, people talk about the central part of what he's known for. What's your point? I think there's a point to be made.
I'm not so sure that intelligent criticism of contemporary values is a phrase Campbell would have uttered in his later years. He actually found some footing in more progressive values later in his life.
Really? Okay, so he's a conservative, religious white man, and he found some politics on the other aisle. That's great. Okay. I think we know where we're going.
That doesn't matter. Again, it's not the person's politics. It's not the person's skin color. It's not the person's fucking anything. It's what they're saying that matters. It's not like what is it with some people these days, and like judging people like everything by like one certain thing. It's very strange because it often doesn't matter in the context of what's actually being discussed and talked about.
But it is interesting that he himself was confused at what he was contributing. I would say that his work definitely falls in a more artistic realm than a scientific one. He even said later in his life that his work was about giving people the key to the realm of the muses, meaning he didn't have all the answers, but maybe he could help you to find a way to your own. It's true that we all find validation in others' opinions of our work. Campbell received praise for his work on the hero's journey. People found immense value in it. Therefore, he continued.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't until 17 years later, after this journal entry, that Campbell actually wrote his first book on his own, and that book was The Hero with 1,000 Faces. So, see what I'm getting at here? He wrote 26 more solo works following The Hero with 1,000 Faces. Not to mention the hours of lectures.
That's great.
So what's the point there?
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like, you read Richard Dawkins' The Selfish Gene, which he was a genius for, and then he wrote like a dozen other books which aren't as good or not as brilliant. They're still
It's like, sorry, go on.
Yeah, they're still important, but they're not like where Richard Dawkins became a genius. This guy knows what he's talking about. So that happens with a lot of people. That happens with philosophers and playwrights and everyone who commits themselves to the arts. It's kind of a common thing.
Yeah, I was going to say that she basically just iterated that he spent a long time writing one thing. He just wanted to see if he was correct. And I completely understand that. You spend an exorbitant amount of time trying to find out if what you're saying is good enough to be said. And then usually that gives it a little bit more lifespan than something that was just cranked out there. Some things, like a magazine article or, a couple, a 15-minute YouTube video, you want to keep that out there. It's temporary. It's news. It's important to talk about it now and get it over with. And then some things, you work on for a little bit longer, and that's more deliberate because you want to give it more life to it. You want something to be able to be read repeatedly or watched multiple times, or you want to convey an amount of information that you might not get the first pass. Any number of things, but I just find that immensely amusing that she's saying this. If you just flipped a couple switches on this review or this YouTube video, it would just be the exact opposite of what her point was, and all of her evidence would lead to the exact opposite of what she's concluding, which I find amusing. I don't understand why she's trying to fight that.
Another big part of Joseph Campbell is the vast spectrum of information that he was trying to codify. Hero of a Thousand Faces is very exhaustive in terms of compiling a lot of philosophical things together, like mythology, all sorts of different stories that have been told throughout time.
Yeah, so when she made that list of things, he's not really a psychologist, he's not really a philosopher. It's like, yeah, but he combined all those things. He references all those things. He talks about Jung a lot and archetypes and tropes and patterns and old dead stories that people have forgotten that you might not even have heard of. And that's a lot of effort. Yeah, we get it. That's why his work was so powerful. At least that one book was.
I'm sorry. He might have been upset that any one of those things would hamstring him. He didn't want to be a teacher because then he'd be stuck in teaching mode. He didn't want to be a writer because then he'd be forced to keep writing. I think it's a common thing for any thinker, for anybody who just enjoys existence and living, to find it difficult to go after a career where they have to do one thing all the time. It seems like that he was just a man that was saying, oh no, I have to fit myself into some sort of expectation for security, and the repetition of that is going to define how people know me by my profession. And I think he didn't want that necessarily. And so we kind of just know him as a thinker and as a guy who came up with theories, who did lectures. But I think that ultimately what he realized probably was that his legacy was going to be disconnected from what he did in his regular everyday life anyway. It was going to be what he had said and what remained. That was going to be. And I think once he realized that, then it sort of freed him, and he had that kind of gleam in his eye, because no matter then what he did, it would be associated with this character that he is, and that's what we remember. We remember Joseph Campbell as a reference point and an anchor for our storytelling. If we go to monomyth, if we want to understand more about all the other cultures, any realm that he was in, he left his mark, and he is a guide for us when we go to that space ourselves. And I like that. So I associate with that kind of thinking, and I like I said just before, I think it's a fool's errand to try and fight it. But she is the wit and folly person. Maybe that's the folly part of it.
Folly of her follies.
That he's recorded. Now, I'm not saying you can't criticize Campbell if you've only read The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Hell, I still haven't gotten through my copy. But I am saying that to discredit him based on that work alone makes...
Okay, but if you haven't finished it, then maybe you should do that before talking about him. Like, I would not make a video about Joseph Campbell unless I was very well informed about what was going on with his stuff.
Well, it's kind of difficult. I mean, I haven't read all of Aristotle, but he's Aristotle, right? Now, with Joseph Campbell, it's really dense. It's hard to get through that book. And the difference is, why are you doing that? Are you studying? Is that a major you're going through? Or is it just, hey, I want to go through Campbell? And it's hard to interpret. So maybe she's being so inspired. After all, she's written all these scripts and made all these videos after it. But I wouldn't blame her for trying to interpret what she already has. It would obviously help her if she read the rest, but it's dense and it's not easy. It's not an easy read. So
then maybe even if it's still a difficult thing to be knowledgeable about and to read, you shouldn't go into something and talk about something unless you are knowledgeable about it. I'm not going to go into physics. So I'm not going to make a video about physics if I'm not well versed. It's yes, it's difficult. But that's not an excuse for me going out and making a video where I just go over the little I know, when really it's up to people who actually know what they're talking about to talk about these things.
Right, but you can talk about like one chapter that you got or one element in that chapter, and that's fine. You can do that. You can write a whole essay on that stuff, and that's totally cool.
But she's not even talking about what she's gone over in the book. She's ranting all. Well, it's hard to call it a rant. It's just a random. It's just going wherever the hell it takes it.
I know, it's hilarious. I love it.
Makes no sense to me, since it was only at the beginning of his study and really brought mythology into the mind of the American subconscious. We do look at story differently now, for better or worse. But generally, I do think that using a lens for story, any lens at all, can be a productive exercise. At least more productive than saying a character is problematic, therefore bad, or counting all the plot holes in a blockbuster, or bringing in weirdly woke takes on something as classic as Hades and Persephone.
Interesting. So she says a lens is good, but certain lenses aren't. Because those three things she just listed were actual lenses. So she has preferences. We have preferences to lenses, that's true. But we know which lens to use for certain stories. And you don't go around using, I don't know, a feminist lens for a space opera. You don't go around using a technology lens for Jane Eyre books or anything related to, I don't know, 2,000 years ago. There's no need to use certain lenses. So, good, I agree. You use certain lenses for the particular media, for the particular genre. It's great. But she listed a whole bunch of things like plot holes. It's like, wait a second. You don't think plot holes are important? Why not?
I just kind of blanked out a little bit. Like, I'm not fully paying attention. I've given up.
Lenses are important. When you're analyzing stories, you have to use the right lens to say, who is this for? If I put the lens of a romantic audience and they want to see something with love and lust and desire and longing and conflicts and all sorts of interpersonal problems, yeah, that's what you use. And you judge your work based off that. But that's one lens. You then use another lens. Like, oh, is an action? Is there enough plot to go around? Is the conflict sufficient for everyone involved? You know,
described in a dynamic fashion allows the audience to...
Right. Same with dialogue. Same with descriptions. Is there enough world building for us to figure out where the hell we are in the universe? Stuff like that. So we have to use certain lenses for certain times. But she's correct in saying you don't use certain ones in certain elements, but she just disregarded the big ones. So she did say bad. She did say nay to, what was that, social justice crap? Or let me just go back and read. I'm glad she's saying this stuff. It's good.
That's good. She's developed.
It's character development.
Oh my. She's on a journey.
We do look at
a
stories
hero's
differently
journey.
now, for better or worse.
She's our hero. She's our literary white cis male hero.
So am I.
Sure about that.
But generally, I do think that using a lens for story, any lens at all, can be a productive exercise.
Yeah.
At least more productive than saying a character is problematic, therefore bad, or counting all the plot holes in a blockbuster, or bringing in weirdly woke takes on something as classic as Hades and Persephone.
See, I like.
She's sorry.
Okay.
I like that. I mean, she got the one wrong, one of them wrong, but that's fine. 2 out of 3 is not bad. So
She's definitely mercenary. She's like in between. She's like, you can't say this classical historical stuff is bad, but then she also is like saying the amount of plot holes is bad, and it's kind of shooting in all directions.
yeah.
She's trying to cover all of her bases and pleasing.
It seems like that's what it might have been before, because she, as I mentioned, she was saying, "Oh, I didn't take him seriously because he was a white man who lived in the blah 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 in this time." And I didn't think so. And of course, it's mainly perpetuated by these crowds. And we were just saying, like, what? Why is this important? He said, "Oh well, despite of all that, like she was trying to buy over a certain part of her audience who like going to a political orient. They lean a certain way in their politics. So she was like trying to cover her bases with that audience itself to make sure that they weren't upset that she was promoting a white man who lived in a certain time period." I say third time. It's not like it's fucking ancient history.
You're not going to get off that, are you? He's a white man from the West Coast and born in 1904.
It's so stupid. That's why.
That's the major thing is that it's like the disappointing part about a lot of these YouTube videos is they are attempts to be intellectual, and then when you really look at them and when you just have any knowledge of it, it's just sad because it's not appealing to my intelligence. It's boring to me. It's disappointing because it's kind of abusing all of the topics that are being talked about by. What is this all about? This is about boiling everything down to her opinion is right. Is that what I'm getting at here? That you shouldn't look at something this way or that way. Lenses, they're constructive, but what?
I would like to know what her perspective is without a lens. What if you just look at a movie or just read a book without a lens? What happens? Why is that bad? Why is that good? That is what I'd like to
put on
know.
a lens where you're trying to do that. Like if there's an infinite amount of lenses, then somebody who's saying, "Oh, you can't do that," then you go, "All right, well, I'm putting on a lens that supposes that maybe I can."
The non-lens lens.
Exactly. That's exactly. It's like you can hypotheticals create all sorts of experiments that you can do, and they what are they going to say? No.
Well, at least this is better than just counting the scenes in the throne room and saying, "Oh, look at the 38, 39 scenes. It's amazing choreography." It's like, wait, what? No.
There's 39 cuts.
She will instead find symbolism in vaginas and say there's 5 wombs or 6 wombs.
There are
Wow. Okay.
4 wombs.
I think I kind of left reality for a second there when you said that and had to come back. Like, oh yeah. This is reality. People really do.
This is who we're talking about, guys. Just in case you forgot.
Is that as bad or worse than the movie Stop Lubricating on the Man?
Well,
no, that
You're
is
really fixed on fucking Transformers.
No.
Yeah. Well, because it's so bad, I understand that, but at the same time, it's like, what is the bad that we're talking about here? The Transformers is not pretending to be smart until. The Last Night or whatever when they're talking about what's the one that has Hannibal in it?
Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah, that it's not trying to do anything except when Optimus Prime is making those speeches where he's like, "Our people will never give you up." It's like, yeah, Optimus, you're the best. That's the only time that it tries to do any kind of intelligent backstory or whatever. But this kind of bad is all about.
Pseudo-intellectualism.
It's about taking a small piece of the larger educational academic aspect and boiling it down to something that can be put into a 12-minute video to support your personal point of view. It's very frustrating.
I would say this is just her rambling, honestly. Not to say she doesn't do that normally, but this is especially just rambling and having to focus.
It's
having to focus her thoughts around Campbell just because she likes Campbell. It's like, I love Campbell. I just can't get my thoughts down right, so I'm going to talk about him. And then she does it. And you're like, okay, fine.
I've been trying to figure that out. That's what's been hurting my brain. And it's confusing to me because you're trying to follow her logic, but then she'll make a tangent. Unless I'm mistaken, I think that's what's happening. Like what I said before, they start with one premise, leads into a response that's actually not the response to that premise, which leads to another premise, and it makes my head spin.
Yep, pretty much.
So back to what Campbell was all about and why I find so much joy in his works. I have this weird ongoing theory that everyone is connected. I believe this on a fundamental...
Everyone's together.
Yeah.
I do not want to be connected with movie pop.
I'm we're connected. We're connected to the ground. We're connected to this. We're connected to that base over there. So I'm not sure if you're talking literally or figuratively, since we're all Lego. It's
no school of movies.
It's very weird. It's
with me, they blocked me on Twitter.
This is more something like you. It's more things that I've seen about jokes. So oh, we're connected, all of us. Oh,
It's that 1970s Swami outlook. It's like, how much drugs are you on, sir? I don't know, but I love you, man.
It's like your opinion, man, but it's my opinion that we're all connected. We're all like one person on this earth, man.
Okay.
I mean, I get that. I get what you're saying, but it's just such a funny thing to. I have this crazy working theory that's the exact same New Age theory that has been around for a long time and also is the basis for a lot of types of thinking. You know, kind of goes back into what is it, the Force in Star Wars, and it's an energy field, binds together,
Surrounds us and penetrates us.
And does
It looks at you when you're on the toilet and it says, "Does it hurt?"
Does it hurt? Yes, it does, because I didn't take fiber. Anyway.
Oldie one doesn't have enough fiber in his diet.
Oldie one Kenobi.
Mental level, so understand that about me. It's at the base of my essential belief framework. I'm not sure how we are all connected, whether...
That's...
Wait.
Okay.
Wait, she thinks we're connected, just she's not sure how. Like, what? What do you mean you don't know?
Is it some like are we connected through God? Are we connected through our chain of evolution from the same animal? Are we connected through some psycho field thing? Are we all telepaths? So is that what connects us?
I'm so glad I'm on push to talk. I was just giggling the entire time. I could not do
it. Is it more of a thing where we're just connected because we talk to someone and then they talk to someone else, then they talk to someone? Is that it? Is she talking about how... Because the most thing I can get from her talk about this is like her talking about how Joseph Campbell identified that certain parts of the hero's journey was in different cultures who hadn't talked to each other.
Who's that guy who says he really hated Trump? I can't remember his name.
That would be Quentin.
Yeah, this is her Quentin moment.
So here's the thing. I think we're all connected. I'm not sure how, though.
That's what it reminds me of. It's like,
I'm just imagining her pulling out a board like that fucking psycho,
it's completely
crazy conspiracy meme.
It's completely...
It's like she's pointing at this board and trying to connect everything. It's like, we're all connected. I know we are. I'm not sure how, but it's there.
Yeah, it's this totally non sequitur. You're just like, where are we going? Like, how did we get here? What are you talking about? Oh boy.
String theory or more.
String theory. What? What are you? Stop it! Stop! You're way over your head, lady.
String theory.
We're all connected through string theory. Are you out of your damn mind?
Oh.
Astrophysics made me feel high. Like, no.
Abstract idea of Kabbalah, where we all have a piece of God inside of us. I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is...
Okay, she's officially on drugs. Okay, there's no other explanation.
All right. Now I'll get my bong out. Let's go. Come on.
For some reason, the video didn't quite...
What?
For some reason, your microphone just
For some
died.
reason... Oh, stinking.
Southpaw.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is it working?
There you are. There you aren't.
Oh.
Dunn, you're dying on us, man.
Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea what range.
Yeah, it's another Southpaw 2.0, unfortunately, but you're dying.
Oh, come on! Come on! Alrighty. 1 second.
All right.
Switch to my phone.
Okay.
Try. What's your connection? Like, what does it say there with your voice connection?
Oh, do you want to switch to another server?
Yeah, we'll try another US one, maybe.
93 MS is saying, even though it's like...
Oh, okay, it's not your connection. I guess we could still try. I'll switch it over to Central. Maybe that'll fix it.
All right. How we doing?
Okay.
You there? Done? I still don't hear you, sir. I do apologize. Anyway, once you... Yeah, once he gets that figured out,
Have we broke it? We may have broken him.
we may have. I don't know.
I'm not taking the fall for this. I may have to press the button, but I did not kill him. I did not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the topic of conversation was
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, string theory.
she just listed a bunch of crap, and you're just like, okay.
Okay, the funny thing is, we're all connected, but Dunn's mic isn't.
Just have a seat there, okay? Just take it easy.
I still can't hear him. I'm getting worried. I'm going to change it back to, what was it? West, I believe.
Hong
or
Kong.
East. You changed it to...
Okay.
Oh, no. Is he back?
Yeah, can you hear me okay now?
Wow.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
There you go.
I just swapped it and swapped it back, and now it works. It just works.
Oh,
God damn it.
I just put myself on speaker on my phone. Is this coming through okay?
It's coming through. You're just a bit soft.
You're cutting off.
You need better internet gas, unfortunately.
So weird. I don't get why you're doing this.
What region are you in again? We could try change to that region.
I'm in Utah.
Switch it to United States Central.
Okay, I'll try Central again.
All right.
Okay. Hopefully. Done. Please don't tell me it's good. Oh.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh. You're cutting out. Just try, keep talking. Keep talking. Speak to us, Dunn.
Yeah, so, yeah, I guess I can kind of pitch my book, so maybe...
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you fine now.
No,
we can hear you fine.
It's
You're not cutting
perfectly
out.
working. Yes.
Okay,
we can hear you now.
Oh, great.
I think changing to Central might have fixed it. I think what might have killed it before you were switching to your phone or whatever.
Dr. Smud, can you continue the video?
Alrighty, I'll switch.
Can't.
I'll just switch back to my computer.
Wait, is Smud now cutting out?
No, I'm fine.
Oh, I think you were pissing about.
Trying to do a really bad Shatner. Sorry.
Sorry, my internet connection keeps cutting out.
Very interesting.
1 second, let me switch back to my computer. Maybe that'll help.
See, that sounded totally fine, and then it just stops. So
every time you switch the region, I'm gonna switch accents to whatever that region is.
That would be hilarious.
I wish I was that good.
Oh, I can do a few accents, but none of them terribly well.
So anyway, back to the video.
Do it.
She listed a bunch of things she believes in, and they were completely unrelated to how she thinks everyone is connected. And at this point, you just like, okay, darling, you just go with that feeling, whatever it is. Just say your bit, because we're already lost. And any reasonable solution you have to whatever talking about Joseph Campbell was is pretty much gone. So there's premise. There's
no, you don't understand. We're all connected.
Oh.
The entire world is connected through a web of absolute fiction.
Lies.
I could say anything I want right now. I could say quantum entanglement, and you'd be like, "Wow, that's so profound."
Deep.
String theory. Come on, that was a joke, right?
S Matrix, the Everett Many Worlds interpretation, Copenhagen, Euler.
Can you imagine her giving a lecture or a video on quantum mechanics or astrophysics or anything related to science? Be like, ooh, I don't know. I have to tune out soon.
I'd start to go crazy. I'd lose my mind.
All right, let's keep going. We're almost done.
This idea in its most basic understanding resonates with me on a spiritual level. So artists and writers who have similar ideas, I tend to see that connection between them and I in a way.
So
in
it's
other
echo
words,
chamber.
I am very sensitive. Anyway, writers
Good to
such
know.
as Maureen Murdoch, Robert Bly, I tend to jive with them pretty well. Herman
Okay.
Hesse is another one I greatly enjoy. Maybe you can see the trap I've fallen into. It all stems from Carl Jung, who proposed this basic idea of a collective unconsciousness where we are all connected through either history or biology or both. And even though there are a lot of critics of Jungian thought, none of them are coming out to criticize the biggest boy band in the world for using Jung's map of the soul as a concept for exploring personal themes in music while also being able to relate that to their fans. Interesting.
Yeah, why
Oh,
is
she's
that?
a-
Gee, let me think. They're academics.
Is she also a K-pop fan too? That's great.
Just you have a stan.
Yeah, that seems what it is. Because she said like the biggest pop band in the world is a K-pop band, I guess.
Why aren't the academics analyzing popular music? Why? They have better things to do? Gee, they've never heard of these things. No
if
one
you look
cares.
at the heroine's journey,
The
I
heroine's
want to go on
journey.
I want to go on a heroin journey right now listening to this.
There are a couple of differences between the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. But one of them is, the main one is mostly at the beginning, where the heroine's journey is mostly the use of the uncomfortable home, as opposed to the comfortable home, which is often the hero's journey. And most of the time, the heroine is trying to get out of her place.
Right. It's a rejection of the female, and then they go into the realization after the apotheosis that she has to accept her feminine side and all this other stuff. So it is very similar, though. Anyway, let's get back to J-pop or K-pop. What is this, Korean? I don't know.
Well, this has been going remarkably fast, all things considered.
Oh God, I'm glad.
it doesn't feel like it's been going fast.
Well, we're 9 minutes in.
We're almost done. Don't jinx it. Come on. She's gonna say something very basic like water is wet. Like, yes, thank you. Good. Keep going.
So, what am I trying to say?
Yeah.
So why did I talk about this? What am I trying to say?
Yes, I do want to know that.
I'm just reminded of like that JonTron video where he's like covering fucking vodka. It's like, so why did we do this? It's like, yeah, why did you talk about this? What are you trying to say? That's what I want to know. Apparently that's why we're here.
I think what I'm trying to say is I'm still new to these studies, and because of my sensitive nature, I tend to give time and credit where it's due. If you get frustrated by my lack of knowledge, please don't watch my videos. I
No, it's
don't
not.
have all the answers for myself.
Well,
much
there you
like-
go. Okay.
Okay.
That's fair. She's fair.
It's-
I'm not gonna, I don't hate on her. She's totally right. I don't watch her videos because she's new at it and because she doesn't know what she's talking about. I agree. She's onto something,
Yeah,
but she's
if-
like so conflicted that she doesn't know. Like, why make videos? Why bother? Why not just go back and read more so you understand before you make the videos? That's why I don't shit out videos about stuff I don't know about.
Mhm. Yeah, again, if you are talking about it, you need to have some kind of knowledge about what you're talking about. If it's kind of like when Make Stuff came out and made a video about minimal visual effects, when he seemed to understand very little about, like, he said the purpose behind visual effects. What was it? I'm trying to remember what did he say exactly, and it was completely wrong. It was like out of the park.
He was comparing two things from Ryan Johnson, and it was
I
a music video.
I need to find the video now because it's annoying me, because he said the purpose of visual effects was one of two things, and both of them were wrong, and it really annoyed me that they were wrong because, again, the purpose of visual effects is, like, in a sense, it is immersion, and just that's the short answer anyway. The long answer is go watch that stream.
Well, this is just another time where we have an author or a creator. She's not an author. She's not a YouTuber. She's a creator. And it's that same statement by that previous author: if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book. Same idea. It's like,
Oof.
We have covered so many. Oh, here it is. Okay, here's the video. I honestly forget how many videos we've covered, like, over such a long amount of time. It doesn't feel that long, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, at least for me, anyway.
it's all madness, okay? It's all craziness and illogic and opinion and feeling and very little. Well, okay, there is some rationale. There is some understanding to guide us through, but it's a lot of dumbfounded biases that don't lead to anything aside from, I like it. And that's about as much as we get for depth. Everything else is trying to believe in some criteria that they don't quite understand or misinterpreting something like Hume. Like, I don't know why Hume keep getting brought up, but it's a very strange collection of people we've been looking at. And we know their politics without even having to guess them because they tell us, they show us. And it's a mission. Like, well, at least Wit and Folly is being honest. He's like, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's like, all right, we'll give you that. Thank you for being honest. But if we were to give you some suggestion, you have a great passion for story forms. And all you have to do is take off the lenses and read the books. Joseph Campbell's great, but there are other authors out there. And the best thing to do is just read actual fiction. Read actual short stories. That's the best and fastest way. You'll pick up on different genres, different techniques, different styles, and you'll learn a lot more than learning about someone's interpretation of the 7-act structure or whatever. Those are nice. But once you have all the theory in the world, you have to start reading actual content, actual media. Pick up romance, pick up gore, pick up horror, pick up all sorts of genres. So that's why I'm really happy when people recommend stuff that's really weird or creepy. I probably can't cover it on this channel, but I'll be happy to look at it myself and give my own opinion, why it works, why it doesn't work. I'm no expert when it comes to certain genres, but I do know other genres rather well. But that's how you learn. You learn about new authors and new directors and new writers of poetry to prose. So
I've remembered what he said now, because I had a quick look at the video.
Okay.
He said that the visual effect strengthens the emotion or it ignites the imagination, or at least that was the purpose. And I'm trying to remember what the fuck I was on about now, like why I brought this up.
Because it drove you nuts.
Because there was a reason why, like, I brought it up. But I've lost it now.
Well, Shiny, this is your profession. You are getting into visual effects, so you would know very much why you have it. And if someone says,
"Oh, that was it," yes, yeah, that was it. So, like what I was saying, that you go in to talk about things which you're at least knowledgeable about, you're experienced about. And again, I said make stuff as an example where he didn't seem to even understand the purpose of having a visual effect. He doesn't need to know how to make visual effects. He needs to just have some kind of understanding, and maybe he did do a little bit of research to come to some kind of understanding, but it wasn't the right understanding, and it doesn't seem to be his area of field. So if I went in to talk about physics, that would not be my field. It's not my place to talk about unless I properly inform myself to inform others, which you are informing others about a subject. And if people are listening to you, for whatever reason, you have people who watch you, Wit and Folly, and you're giving them information, and you have to make sure that information is right, at least it's close enough to right as you can get.
it's very similar to someone who's read a book, but only like a quarter way through, and they think they know what they're talking about, so they start writing an essay, and they don't have enough material to work out the 3 points, so they just stretch that one point as far as it can go, and they start jumping around to see if it relates to something else that they can pull from. Yeah, it's kind of like that without a conclusion. So, yeah. Wit and Folly, folks.
Less anyone else. And you know what? I don't ever expect to. Although I might be a bit of a Campbell snob. I get annoyed when people mix up Campbell and Vogler, for instance. I'm still very much...
Vogler was a guy who wrote after the fact. I'm trying to remember exactly what he wrote. I think it was he did a video Was it a movie? What the heck was it? It was think. Geez, I think I know. Was he a student? I can't recall. Oh yeah, he did the writer's journey. That's right. Okay, so he's essentially taking what he learned. It's another structure. It's very similar though. It's called the writer's journey. Is for screenwriting mostly. So, lots of stuff with archetypes, lots of mythology. He reduced the numbers of archetypes. I'm trying to remember. Like there was the hero, obviously, and the trickster was one. I can't remember all the others. But not the wise man, but there's like the smart guy, the guy who knows everything, and he's going to impart the same role as the wise man. He imparts the knowledge. So he found all these patterns. It's like a condensed version, a more digestible version of Campbell. That's about it. So it's still a 3x structure. It's still the same concept. So yeah, again, if you like 3x structure, if you like those styles, great. Vogler's good too. So yeah, maybe she knows Vogler. Maybe she can go on about of the differences. That'd be a great video because she knows so much about Campbell. So yeah, go for it.
The great thing about like YouTube is that you are able to share your knowledge and understanding with people. Obviously, not everyone uses this for knowledge and understanding, but primarily what things like YouTube essays and at least what we're trying to do here on the stream, and at least with some of our videos, people who come on the Smudcast, it is to inform and to discuss and to have some kind of understanding at the end for people, because people enjoy learning about things, and because people have this just a thing where they want to learn and be knowledgeable. And it's like when people, she doesn't seem to understand what the purpose of her media here, and why she should be informed about that media. Why she'd be informed about what she's talking about on that media.
I see nothing wrong with attempting, but please do understand something of the material before you start doing a blog post, doing a Twitter feed, doing a video, doing whatever. Especially in school, guys. Do not jump the gun.
For sure. Don't do it.
Much a student of myth and story, I still need to read more. I need to read more women authors and authors of color and non-binary authors.
Oh, okay, you can do that, Wit and Folly, but you're going to miss out on the majority of the books ever written. Not to say that that's, bad thing. That's just how it is. So,
yeah, most of the books were written by not of good quality that I've seen.
It's not like women can't write books of quality, and I honestly, I'm not going to make any kind of like accusation that women can't. It's just more that people who are writers tend to write about things, and it honestly doesn't matter who's writing it. All that matters is what's actually being written in the book itself.
Maybe
it's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that Star Wars was created by a man. It doesn't matter that this was written by a woman. It doesn't matter about this, that, and this and that.
Yeah, like the Scarlet Letter, very seminal work, very necessary, written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I mean, look at Jane Eyre. That was done by Charlotte Bronte. Like, it doesn't matter who wrote these books.
Yeah. I'm just saying that, like, most of the books that I've seen that are written by female authors are mostly trashy romance novels.
Right.
I would say that the worst thing that's happening right now is that it's often not encouraging quality to just accept people on the merits of their race or gender, because you're not encouraging quality, and that is something which is very dangerous to do within creative medias. If you're only going after people, looking for people who have certain politics or who are in a certain race or in a certain gender, it becomes a very big problem. I don't want to say other than, you're not encouraging quality.
Right. Now, there are some genres which are specific to culture, or they're period pieces, so you'd want to have someone talking about that. I always talk about black science fiction. I think one of the most famous ones is Jemison or Nemison, J.S. Nemison? I can't remember her name. But she's known. She's won some Hugo Awards. So there are authors to seek out specifically because that's what they're known for. and that's great to get a different perspective. So maybe that's what she's talking about, but in terms of like non-binary, I have no idea what she's talking about. Maybe there are. It's possible, but I can't think of anything recently. I'd have to ask around some reading circles to find out.
I need some significant diversity in the perspectives I consume, and I know this, but it's going to take some time and some discipline because, let's face it, I'd rather watch a K-drama than read a nonfiction book. And when I sit down to analyze said K-drama, I'm probably going to take out the tools given to me by the authors that I have read and that I like.
Okay, interesting. I don't think you should be applying the hero's journey specifically to romance.
She's talking about like, we need a more like diversity. It's like, okay, whatever. But the thing is, I am of like really true belief that what is like in your mind is like pretty much. It doesn't matter. Again, it just really doesn't matter what you are. It matters who you are, and the quality of who you are, what you do, what you write. And it's so stupid, insane to me that people are going out and they're saying, "Oh, well, I need to hear more about what black people think." It's like, how insulting is that? To say, okay, I want to hear what you're saying, not because of anything you've done or anything of value. Oh, and we're not going to listen to those people over there because they're not of the right color. But you're just special enough that we're going to listen to what you're saying. It's insulting for everyone.
Yeah, just you get preferential treatment based on the amount of melanin in your skin.
It's not just that, and it's so stupid. It is incredibly insane.
Yeah.
And it's not just, obviously, it's not just, the extreme left that does this. It's also like the extreme right, sure. But the thing is, when the extreme right goes out and does say something stupid, then they're on blast for it almost immediately. But she says things like this, and people like her say things like this, and they don't get shit for it. And it's mind-boggling.
MovieBot gets so much crap for this. Alex Shaw does not get enough crap because he's just a podcaster with a relatively small YouTube channel who has a lot of bad takes on a lot of things.
Less people are going to be upset about, like progressives being essentially sexist or racist than someone who's like of a different political. Hell, they could still be left, or even if they just slightly are not extreme in their beliefs.
I don't know what I did to deserve having to live in these conditions. I didn't have anything to do with anything. I just showed up and almost 30 years ago, something like that. I didn't have anything to do with all this racial, whatever, social stuff. I have no idea how to fix anything that would fix everybody's personality. So when I want to enjoy something or learn about something, I don't really want to add in all these agendas that people have. It certainly is a waste of my time, I feel like, whenever somebody tries to do this to me. It always seems to be, because it's like, what am I going to do? What are you and I going to do to fix any of these giant social issues that we have? We can comment on it. We can have a conversation about it, influence a lot of people. But I really don't think that essential behavioral nature has changed that much without people making any decision. It goes back to the one thing that I think everything comes down to is you can't help people unless they want help, unless they ask for it. If people just are going to say no to you trying to help them, it's never going to work. It's an exchange.
Yeah, if I were to say anything about wit and folly right now, it's like if you like watching these Eastern dramas, watch them. Go crazy. Analyze them. Do it. What's stopping you? If you like them so much, if that's your thing, go for it. Why wait? Why do boring readings of things you don't really know much about for the sake of reading it? Maybe you'll find some good stories there too. It's possible. But if you're passionate about something, go for it. Keep watching your dramas. Keep talking about. I'm sure there's lots of people. There's all kinds of YouTube book reviewers out there who have it. They've dedicated pretty much their lives at that point to reviewing books that happen to be about this or that genre. So what's stopping you? Go for it.
Yeah.
Just try and read. Like, if you're going to make a channel about Joseph Campbell, might be a good idea to read him.
Even she admitted that she hasn't finished the damn book.
Yeah, I know. If I was a fan of Aristotle, I would have studied Aristotle in school. I would have gone all the way, and then I would have done a YouTube channel. I wouldn't have just started.
That's like me going out. Like I said, I don't watch like the Star Wars films, and then I go out and I make videos about Star Wars.
Yeah, it helps to watch them.
Yeah, it helps to finish the actual films and to be knowledgeable about like what's actually happening and going on, rather than just watching a little bit of it and saying, "Oh, I know what's happening."
Self and brings purpose to why I consume the media I consume. To go back to that Campbell quote that interprets and paraphrases what he calls Krishna's dictum, the best way to help mankind is through the perfection of yourself. I can only attempt to aim for that lofty goal.
But I'm not sure he's actually talking about perfecting.
We did come here for spring break, and
It's self-betterment. It's not. Yeah, of course, none of us are going to reach perfection. But it's just the idea of bettering yourself, and that's something I believe that we're all capable of. If we have a problem, you go out and you fix that problem.
I think she's saying that. I think
But
that's what she's saying.
Okay. I mean, she said that. Obviously I can't reach that because there's no such thing as perfection. It's like, that's not what they're saying.
We're not saying that. Yeah, I can, like, there are totally going to be flaws in my book because sometimes I just don't notice things. But I'm going to try my best to...
You just try to be as least flawed as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because there's only a few things that I can do. Like, and there are some things that I can't change. Like, I can't change whether or not somebody likes the particular genre I'm writing in. But the one thing that I can do is make it the best of that genre, whether it be science fiction, fantasy, romance, or whatever that I am writing.
We get what she's trying to say. She's not doing the best job at it, but we get it.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't understand. This is like another tangent. It's
Yep.
like, let's talk about Joseph Campbell. Oh, wait, let's talk about being a...
Thanks everyone for watching this. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. And don't forget to share it as well, because it helps people find the channel. Thanks!
That was essentially a whole lot of word salad that said nothing.
Welcome to a Wit and Folly video.
Yay, Wit and Folly, guys. That's great. It was just a big moment of time which involved, I think, Joseph Campbell and some of his works and her understanding or lack thereof. Always great. Wit and Folly, guys. And we had no... Warning, heads up. We've detected copyright audio and video in your stream. Thanks. Thanks, Wit and Folly.
Thanks for the heads up. And yeah, thank you, Wit and Folly.
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Joyful. Just wonderful. Yeah. That's what happens when you don't do proper editing in YouTube, guys.
That's what happens when you don't, just use music which isn't going to get striked. What's helpful is if you use music from video games, because video games don't copyright. Well, they copyright their music, but they don't put it into the YouTube system because they don't want like YouTube Let's Plays to be copyrighted.
Either way, I could probably edit this out throughout YouTube's system, so I can easily cut it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. You'll miss out on all the long takes of whatever video was playing when we were watching.
It'll mostly just be missing out what the hell she's saying. It'll still be what we're saying.
Well, it's only audio, so I don't know. It could be that scene we just watched. It could be many things. But hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. That was a fun little romp, as always, with Wit and Folly. Every other month, we get one of our videos.
If you're looking for anyone to blame LiteratureDevil for this video.
Yeah, it's all his fault. He wasn't here. I know he's here. I know he's talking to us. He's just not in the stream. But
he's not watching the stream. Yeah, he's in another stream.
Oh, he's busy. Okay, fine.
The devil's in another castle.
Yeah, if you guys want to, after the stream, catch up with what LiteratureDevil's doing, he's on Matt Wenger's stream. Look up The Cringe is Coming from Inside the House. They've been streaming for almost an hour now. that's what he's doing. But this was pretty interesting. This was my first time seeing Wit and Folly, and I really didn't have much to say to it because I felt like a lot wasn't being said. I know you could correct her or whatever about a lot of subjects, but I just don't know what she's really getting at, other than like she's learning about herself through. This is almost like a blog, like a personal blog, and it's just, hey guys, let's talk about Joseph Campbell makes me feel like a better person. Like, okay, cool. You know, we're all connected because my Jungian archetypes and made me feel that we're all connected, and that justified my spiritual. It's kind of what I believe, but I don't really know what I believe. And okay, that's cool.
Yeah, great. Pretty much, she summarized it in about 20 seconds. Fantastic, Glib. Good stuff.
Yeah, but thank you. As always, I hope that I contributed, and it was fun to listen to you guys as usual talk. Hopefully, I didn't interrupt anybody.
Yeah, no, you're fine. It's always great to have you.
See, Dunn, you're coming across so beautifully right now. I don't know what happened, but it's working.
Oh, I don't. It's just my phone is on speaker for some reason. My phone is on speaker.
Yeah, that must be it. I don't know, but it sounds good and it's clear. So
great.
Thanks everyone for joining. I think we'll be doing a positive, or not a positive. I mean, a less
retarded.
I didn't want to say that. Looking for a word is not negative. A more positive video. Let's just say, and hopefully it'll be about some recent stuff regarding video games. We're not sure yet, and we might get Southpaw. We're not sure. He's also busy.
Wait one sec. So we can end on a light note. Can we please watch what was it? The Star Wars. I forgot what it's called. I've forgotten the guy's name now. The
Star Wars
the room. No. Tommy Wiseau. Tommy Wiseau. Can we end on Tommy Wiseau, Star Wars?
We already watched it. We saw it yesterday. Yeah.
Wait, you watched it? God damn it.
Yeah.
Without me. I didn't know if you watched it or not.
I saw it. It was brilliant. That was absolutely great editing. My God, that was good. The lighting, the sound.
Right, can we try and find something else to end this on then?
No, we're good. We're totally fine. I gotta edit this this video because I've already been potentially copyright striked by the audio, so I'll find out soon enough. But we can watch it off stream, okay? There, Shiny. Don't worry about it. We'll do it.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. If you have any suggestions, come on to the Discord, go to the suggestions section, and drop in a video. Tell us what's up.
Yeah.
One of these days, maybe we could cover at least like partially a Dragon Demands video. It would at least maybe how David Benioff claims to have learned screenwriting.
Oh, really? Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that one's thankfully like 26 minutes long, but it's basically taking all of the man's quotes and proving how utterly inept he was because he refused to read any screenwriting manuals.
Okay.
He just read scripts. And he puts long text in his screen directions, almost like book prose, and micromanages the facial expressions of his actors.
Whoa.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
And doesn't really prefers to use nonverbal performances because he believes it gets in the way and isn't really as good of writing as using just emotive performances.
Again, that seems like an extreme version of the idea of show don't tell. But even then, you can still show while having dialogue. It's not saying don't have dialogue.
Yeah, he just believes that it gets in the way. Like, he believes that they literally believe that they can, like, his lackey / ascended coffee boy turned to executive producer Brian Cogman believes that he can script an entire scene where someone like Alfie Allen doesn't speak, and yet he can convey all of this complicated prose that's in the script direction. It's really, really strange.
All right, guys. Thanks for your time, and we'll see you next time.